Welcome to our Google Apps for Real Estate webinar. We've got a jam-packed session for you today, featuring presentations from Sean Monahan, a Senior Manager at Google, and Dave Kim, Head of Enterprise Sales Engineering. We'll hear from two real estate customers, Gil Kite, VP of Relocation and Internet Services at Northwood Realty, and Joe D'Souza, CIO at First Team Real Estate, as they discuss with Christy Gorley, industry expert and Google Enterprise Sales Representative, why they went Google. Just a few housekeeping tips. Please enter all questions in the Q&A section of the WebEx. We'll then address them during the live Q&A session at the end of the webinar. If you experience any technical difficulties with the audio feed or viewing the presentation, please let our WebEx assistant, Mary Beth, know by chatting her directly. Mary Beth will send you a chat with the technical support line, which you can call for any video issues. Please don't use the Q&A box for technical issues. Now I'll turn over the mic to our first presenter, Sean Monahan.
Thank you very much, Annie, and thank all of you for joining us today. Really appreciate you dialing in and tuning in. Definitely, as Annie said, we've got an action-packed session, and if you do have any questions, definitely hit the Q&A chat, and we'll get off and running. A good friend of mine told me a real estate joke recently. That he bought a two-story house recently. One story before he bought, and then another story after he bought. And I think that actually, ironically enough, really applies to Google Apps and to Google Solutions, because a lot of people in the marketplace today are buying Google Solutions because it's quote-unquote a cheaper or less expensive email solution. And that's the first story. And then the second story after they've used it for 6 to 12 to 18 months is, wow, there's great global teamwork and collaboration and innovation and mobility benefits that we never anticipated. And so that's really what we want to talk with you about, is the 3 rules of productivity that we've learned from our real estate customers, that communication, collaboration, and mobility is really becoming a key component of their success with Google Apps. So just some basic information that we'd like to cover for anyone on the line who does not have a lot of experience with cloud solutions yet. Cloud computing, as many of the experts define it, is the delivery of computing, whether that's applications, infrastructure, or platforms, as a service rather than as a product, whereby shared resources, software, and information is provided to users over the Internet, what we here at Google like to call the 100% web. With cloud computing or the 100% web, basically you're renting the applications, infrastructure, platforms that you need. And fortuitously for our customers with Google Apps and other Google solutions, you can rent that either by the month or by the year. You can scale up or down as you need, and that's probably one of the other distinct benefits that our customers derive. So within the Google Cloud, we do have Google Apps, which provides you messaging, communication, global teamwork, and then discovery and compliance. We also have Google Earth Builder now in the cloud, and the App Engine, which allows you to create custom-built applications. Many of our real estate customers build specific property management or customer relationship management applications with the App Engine. And then, as many of you know, you can use either Chrome or Android devices, or quite frankly, Apple or RIM or Active Sync devices as well to access Google Apps. And then we also have a search application as well. Now, as I just started to cover, within Google, we have the Google Enterprise Group, which actually focuses on 5 major products today. Google Apps, which I'll get to in just a second on the next slide. Postini, which covers our antivirus, anti-spam, security, discovery, messaging type solutions. We do have 2 search solutions, one for enterprises, basically bringing in-house the great Google search capabilities that you see on the web every day, and also a commerce search solution. We have Maps on Earth, which are essentially our very familiar interactive Google mapping solutions that have been extra built and extra fortified with business features. And again, we have 4 products there. And then Chromebooks, which is truly a netbook. Basically, it's Chrome on the device that is boots up in 10 seconds or less, all the security built in, and the TCO on that is typically 1/4 to 1/10 the cost of a regular desktop PC or laptop. So those are the 5 products that we cover within Enterprise. And very specifically, Google Apps, which we want to talk with you about today, covers all of these products on the screen. So Gmail with a 25 gig storage for each mailbox, the Gtalk application, which is an enterprise class, either IM or video chat capability, groups to allow teams to work together, and that's probably what I hear from most real estate firms, is that the collaborative teamwork and the productivity for the entire team on their organization is what gets improved the most with Google Apps. The calendar function, so scheduling is made easy because, again, I should mention, all of these are integrated. You don't need to buy them separately. There is no different hook or API. They all come with Google Apps. Docs and Sites, which do make real-time in-document collaboration for internal employees as well as external collaborators globally, simple, easy, and effective. Videos, and then finally Postini, as I mentioned, our security, discovery, and compliance solutions. Just as a note, the antivirus, anti-spam comes with Google Apps. If you want some of our other Postini products like messaging, message continuity, discovery, archiving, and so forth, there is an additional charge for that. But basically, for Google Apps, everything that you see here, this is what we charge $50 per user per year for. It's very transparent pricing. We do have over 4 million customers worldwide that have now gone Google Apps, and 5,000 more sign up every day. There are 12 real estate companies listed here. We have dozens of real estate customers all over the world. I've had the pleasure of working with 12 of them directly, which is why I'm talking with you today. But we did want you to see some of the names that have gone Google. We've got a video we're going to show you from Ray White, and then we actually have Gil Kite from Northwood and Joe DeSuda from First Team who are joining us directly and in person. We greatly appreciate their time. So with that, what we're going to do very quickly is just run you a 2-minute video featuring Brian White and his team at Ray White to give you an overview of a commercial real estate firm that's deriving great benefits with Google Apps. You know, one of the quotes from, I believe it was Brian, their CIO and head of property management, he said Google Apps was a given because it's so intuitive, easy to use, and economical. Very common feedback from our real estate customers. As you saw, they did build a custom-built property management app with Google App Engine, as we discussed a few minutes ago. Would highly recommend that if any of you are interested in doing that you talk with Brian and Ben, because it's phenomenal what they've done. They needed to improve their communications and collaboration within our business. I can't tell you how many real estate firms I hear this from, that they're just trying to get their email system to communicate, just to work, bottom line. Whereas that's really a given with Google Apps. You don't need to worry about the infrastructure and the management. You can just start deriving all the benefits from it the minute you implement it. Another comment, without the cloud, we just cannot do what we need to do in our industry. We actually hear that in about 8 different industries, at least I have in the last year, but especially from real estate firms. And then finally, you heard from their chairman and one of the gentlemen that founded the firm, and he's responsible for making the decision on going Google or not. He said they were educated to believe that Google was a threat to their industry. Now we're embracing Google. Huge advantages, a great name to be associated with. So the bottom line is that when we talk with customers about what is critical to their business today, where do they need help from Google Apps, all of those products that I mentioned to you before, and it's really in 3 areas. One, they need better teamwork. They need better real-time in-document collaboration in presentations, in spreadsheets, in word processing documents, and in the sites that they build in order to be more productive, to make decisions more quickly, more effectively, more profitably. They also need mobility and productivity anytime, any place, anywhere. And they want all that at a reasonable investment, which, again, for $50 per user per year is quite compelling for a lot of the customers that we work with. Matter of fact, 4 million of them, to be exact. And really, that's the beauty of Google Apps, is that we provide all 3 of these benefits to them as soon as they turn it on. And one other point that always comes out of the IT cost reduction is that because Google Apps is now managing your messaging, your servers, your storage, your backup and disaster recovery, some of your networking for messaging, collaboration, mobility, and so on, it does liberate several of, or for one of our companies, one of our real estate firms, it liberated 20 individuals to go off and start working on more value-added projects for the organization. So when we take a closer look, what does teamwork really mean? Well, HBR did a huge focus on collaboration a couple months ago back in July. There were 7 articles written there, and this one by Adler and his team. basically talked about successful companies and enterprises that have created collaborative communities. And again, this resonates with all of our real estate customers, that they need to define and build a shared purpose around what they want to collaborate on. They need an ethic of contribution, not just from their own employees, but from everybody that they work with within their value chain. So for real estate firms, contractors, buyers and sellers, banks, county government officials, and again, everyone can collaborate within Google Apps, and they do. That's, again, one of the key reasons that folks buy. Work together in flexible but disciplined projects, and then finally build an infrastructure both within the people and processes within their real estate firms, as well as for the RIT side, in which collaboration is valued and rewarded. And again, all of these key areas are areas where Google Apps shines. In regards to mobility, all of you have seen it, and all of you are aware of it. And whether you use an Android device, an iPhone, or an iPad, an Active Sync device from Microsoft, or a RIM BlackBerry device, you've seen the proliferation of exactly what this talks about. You've got customers, suppliers, and other members that you work with within your firm and outside your firm consuming and producing information, goods, and services anytime, everywhere. And you need to do that in order to be competitive. And again, a key differentiator for Google Apps is that we do work with all four of those major mobile OSs. Seamlessly, the integration is just there when you turn it on. Now, finally, very interesting point. This article and white paper on A.T. Kearney talking about building a capability-driven IT organization is exactly that. It's talking about how to organize and operate your IT organization. It's really not a focus on the cloud. But we love this chart because if you actually look at what they're saying, most IT organizations across, for this particular report, it was 20 different industries. What they're moving to is they're moving their IT towards strategy and innovation, business relationship management, BI and analytics, and IT planning. And for application management and infrastructure management, they're outsourcing it because it's just not value added. Again, that's exactly what Google Apps does for you when it comes to messaging, collaboration, innovation, acquisition, integration, and mobility. Finally, this is probably this particular study by McKinsey came out in December of last year, and it's my favorite one when we talk with customers. Why are customers moving to the cloud? What are the hard money benefits that they're achieving? And actually, McKinsey in this report lists 15 of them. So if any of you have anybody that's doubting that the cloud applications and solutions can provide hard money value, have them read this McKinsey report. But bottom line is, why are real estate firms going Google? Why are they going into the cloud? Primarily, it's because their market share is growing, their margins are growing, and they're becoming number one in their select areas that they cover geographically. And again, it's primarily because all of these things that we're talking about, messaging, collaboration, calendaring, innovation, mobility on any four of these, they're all integrated into one package that's very easy to use, very easy to access, easy to support for $50 per user per year. It's really kind of hard to beat. So to give you some feedback, Baird Warner, a 2,000-person firm, a real estate firm in Chicago, has gone Google. They've been one of our more successful, more publicly vocal real estate customers. And if you read any of their, I think it's 5 or 6 case studies that they have out on the web, you'll see that any mobile device, using it anywhere, anytime, and then the huge reduction in infrastructure costs was the initial reason why they went Google. And then if you talk with their president and CEO, Stephen Baird, what you'll hear is that his whole company is built upon innovation, collaboration, and communication, and that they've actually taken advantage of Google's own innovation in the product. And to give you an example of that, last year in 2010, Google Apps had about 125 enhancements and improvements put into the product. This year, we're running just slightly ahead of that. So huge innovation that gets rolled in every week, and our users directly derive benefit from those immediately without any upgrade costs or additional licensing. So what Stephen's talking about is they take advantage of that to, as he says here, cut time to find and access information, share that information, and communicate it with the home office and peers. And those peers are both internal and external. Because again, you can link them in and integrate and collaborate with them for $50 per user per year. And the bottom line that Stephen will tell you is that the entire organization is focused on delivering high-touch, high-value customer service, which is going to bring them more money, more business, better, and happier customers. Another client of ours, Scott Adams, up in Canada with Cadillac Fairview. Again, he was able to reduce his email costs by 73% by going Google. And again, and again, and again, you'll hear this from every real estate firm that uses Google. Accessing the information anytime, anywhere, on any device is the key reason why they have gone and are now deriving benefits with Google Apps. So the bottom line is Google Apps is built for the connected world. Your connected world, both inside your firm and with all of your external collaborators. It's built to support the teamwork among all those groups, accessible from anywhere, anytime, on any device. It's affordable, simple, and efficient. So with that, that provides a quick overview of what Google Apps is for our real estate customers today. Look forward to any of your questions at the end. I'd like to turn it over to Gil Kite, the VP of Relocation Internet Services with Northwood Realty in Pennsylvania, and our moderator will be Christy Gorley from Google Enterprise. Christy?
Yeah, so while we're unmuting Gil, we're so thrilled to have Gil with us and talk a little bit about their experience. And we know that as real estate customers, it's really important for you to hear from your peers why they went Google and kind of what their experiences have been. So, Gil, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you being here.
You're very welcome.
Well, so let's start out, Gil, by talking a little bit about Northwood Realty. Can you tell us just a little bit about your firm?
Well, we've been around since 1956. We have 39 offices. We cover western Pennsylvania and eastern Ohio, and we have more than 900 agents.
Wow. So, Gil, I understand that prior to going Google, you were suffering a little bit in your previous environment. What was going on?
Oh, that was an understatement. We had email that was hosted by our web service provider. They handled all of our internet needs, things like that, and it worked okay. It was nothing special, but it worked. In August of 2010, they notified us they were changing providers for the email, and we had like 1 week's notice, period. And the new program was absolutely horrible. If things just didn't work, agents were having problems, complaints from the agents, the staff, you name it. There were bugs everywhere.
Oh,
and in February of this year, our president and broker, Tom Hozak, came to me and he says, Gil, I don't care what you do, but find us something else and something that works. He was tired of hearing complaints. Every time he went into an office, he was verbally attacked.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you know, Gil, I understand that in real estate, referrals are really the lifeblood of business. And I understand that after you kind of got that directive, your team, being involved in Realty Alliance, had some kind of referral that drove the evaluation of Google Apps. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, where you saw Baird Warner there just a few minutes ago. Baird Warner is also a member of the Realty Alliance. These are large major brokers nationwide that get together, and one part of that is the IT group, and I am part of that. Well, while I was doing my research, Baird Warner posted through the Realty Alliance that they had gone Google and how successful it was. So I thought, okay, I know those guys. I know what their standards and everything are. I got to take a look at it. And everything was absolutely very, very positive. So that's where we headed that way.
So, in kind of speaking of looking at that, what kinds of things did you do over there at Northwood to evaluate Google Apps?
Well, first of all, I had a Gmail account. I have an Android phone, and so, of course, Gmail was part of it. So things weren't a whole lot different. I started looking at what Google was showing me and what LTech was showing me, and I'm thinking, I see that same thing on my Gmail account. And so it wasn't like having to learn something all over again. The support, it was and is critical, and I can't speak highly enough of LTech. They were there. They have been there the whole time. One of the things that was so very, very critical to us is that real estate agents don't let go of anything, including all of their old email. They have folders, they have stuff, and it just, every time something switches, they panic. So it was critical that they were able to take all of our agents' existing emails, all of their folders, all of their contacts, and move it into the new program. And
Right.
they did a lot of work making sure that it went very, very smoothly.
Well,
We had no downtime.
That our partners are making your life easier. That's certainly the goal. And can you tell us a little bit about what it was like when you actually announced that you were going to move to Google?
Well, we had our annual awards luncheon late in March, and at the end of the program, Tom Hozak, again our president and broker, he said he had just one more thing to tell everybody, that morning he had signed a contract. We were going Google Business Apps. I am not kidding. Everybody stood up and cheered.
Oh, that is the best response that we could hope for.
Well, they were they knew it was going to take a few months to get it up and running, the whole program, and that didn't bother them. They were real excited and ready to go for that.
Well, Gil, wrapping things up, I'm so glad to hear that you had such a great experience. I guess my last question for you really is, what was the very best thing for Northwood about going Google?
Well, the mobility, definitely. The email, being able to get your email no matter where, and especially like on your cell phone and all. Previous programs we had, you could get your email on your cell phone, but if you responded, it didn't attach to the other part of your email. It was separate. You didn't have a copy of what you sent. This, no matter where you send from, go from your iPad, your cell phone, whatever, your email is all there. Your responses, everything is all together. So it was really, really great. And it is so easy to add your Google, your Gmail, your calendar, and everything to your smartphone. I mean, you just have like 3 little clicks and you're there.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that mobility was such a huge piece of the puzzle for you guys, and that was the best thing. You know, really that anytime, anywhere, from any internet-able device is really key to the Google message. And whether you're taking a listing, showing properties, or even at your child's soccer game, we want to give you access to your information no matter where you are. So thank you so much, Gil, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And next we're going to move back to Sean to talk through some of the key findings that Northwood had and just reaffirm those, and then we'll move on to the next part of the webinar. Thank you, Gil.
You're welcome.
Gil, it's always a pleasure. We know that you've also achieved great benefits in regards to recruiting more experienced agents has become easier, and that your support requests have dropped by 95%. So again, really appreciate your time today. It's always a pleasure talking with you and working with you, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. We're now going to roll over to an overview of Google Apps provided by Dave Kim, the head of our sales engineering group.
Talk a little bit high level on some of the capabilities that you can accomplish with Google Apps for real estate in particular. Dave, do you mind kind of sharing with us some of the high points of the video for those folks who weren't able to load it?
Sure thing. Yeah, I apologize for that. I was trying to do a video in advance to avoid any lagging, and here we are. But anyhow, it is actually a nice workflow going through a whole process of a realtor on the buying side and on the selling side. And so what it illustrates is we don't spend a lot of time focusing specifically on messaging, for example, and spending a lot of time in email. What we do is experience the entire collaboration experience. And so the workflow goes from someone creating a site that's very specific, using Google Sites to create an actual website that's public, that's in addition to an MLS listing, for example. And the advantages there would be that you could have really, really high resolution photos of the property, and that would be posted in Picasa, and then be integration with analytics, for example, giving you the ability to see who's touched your site, how many times have they come, are they new visitors, are they old visitors. So you're getting lots of rich information. You have also integration with things like Google Street View and Google Maps. You'll also see an extension of your branding so that the selling agent can continue to broaden their reach to people and talk about who they are and what they have to offer, as well as what people have said about them and maybe other listings as well. So when you go to this site, it's a template that they can just click on and create a site. So you don't have to have any HTML knowledge. You don't have to call an IT person to create these sites for every single client that you have. And it allows visitors to have this rich experience as if they were able to actually walk through the house themselves, looking at room to room, and having a much hierarchical view beyond what you would see in MLS. To go from there, what occurs is that a buying agent might come and say, I like this piece of property. It looks really good. I'd like to visit. And so what they would do is go to the contact page, and they see numerous ways of contacting the seller's agent. One is clicking on an integration with Google Voice, and that'll ring the selling agent's phone, their Google Talk. It'll also ring their office number or anywhere else that the selling agent has asked Google Voice to ring. So instantaneously connecting however the selling agent wants to, right from the website. On the website also is a presence icon, so they can immediately start to begin to chat using Google Talk as well. And so all of these things are built in. The entire solution that we were looking at is 100% web, meaning that there's no software anywhere and there's a zero footprint. Everything's through the browser. There's no additional software anywhere. From there, the selling agent might say, this is great. I'm going to schedule an appointment. So what they would do is go to something on a form there on the website, and basically they can schedule a time, see the calendar when it's available, send off that request to the selling agent, and then the selling agent would verify that with the client and accept that meeting request for a showing. And as realtors, the realtor shows up and they open the lockbox, and the instant they open that lockbox to get into the house, a notification email is sent to the selling agent and the client saying, hey, someone just walked through your house and opened that key. And so they have an idea of who showed up and when, with the lockbox number and who the realtor was and their email address and contact information. Simultaneously, the selling or the buying realtor with their client actually gets another email saying, hey, I know you've checked out this house. Tell me what you think. So it's a survey right in their inbox. They don't have to go somewhere else and click on another link. They just fill it out directly in their inbox. And in our scenario here, the actual realtor who's walking through the house has it on their mobile phone. And as they're walking through the house, while everything's fresh in their mind, they can say, yeah, the kitchen looks great. The backyard's a little bit small. The location's fantastic. Fill it out and hit submit, and it's done. And that email populates a form in Google Docs, which then shares analytical information with the client and the selling real estate agent. And so all that information's there. And after that, the selling realtor might decide, or the buying realtor might decide that, hey, this is interesting. I want to get more information. Give me architectural drawings, etc. And so another email is fired off asking for this information. And in a traditional environment, a lot of files go back and forth. So there's emailing, here you go, here's a PDF, here you go, here's a Word document. And instead of doing that, the selling agent actually has a folder, or we call them collections, in Google Docs. And everything's in the cloud. It's one source of the truth, and all they have to do is share that folder with that selling agent or that buying agent, and immediately all of that information is right there together. So it's this entire workflow, sharing information all the way to collaborating real-time on the documents.
That's amazing, Dave. And it really sounds like what Google is offering here is maybe little bits and pieces that an agent is paying for separately today in 6 or 7 different sources, bringing it all under one roof and having access to that information anytime, anywhere, and for one low cost. And I'm really excited about that, because for agents to be able to increase their revenue by protecting their commission and providing their customers with more information than any other agent can provide, it's really offering kind of something that's going to be able to differentiate themselves in the market and truly be able to capture that market. So we'll be able to talk more, folks, about this separately. I'm sorry that the video didn't load properly, but we'll be sending out that link after the session is over. So please don't lose heart. You will get to see that, and I know that your sales reps would also like to give you a one-on-one demo should this be something of interest to you. So the next piece that we're going to move on to is an amazing case study by Joe, and he is with First Team Real Estate. He is the CIO there, and he's going to talk us through his experience with Google Ask. And so, Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, so we'll just go through this, and we'll advance the slides for you, Joe.
Okay, great. So, again, thanks for the introduction. I'm Joe D'Souza, I'm CIO First Team, and just to give a little backdrop about the company and about me, I was thinking about this. It's important to point out that while I've been in the industry for a long time, I have a similar role at Howard Hanna Real Estate. Actually had the pleasure of working with Gil and Northwood on a consulting basis. I've only been at First Team for about 4.5 months. So I've really come in and made a big leap here to go with Google, and we're going to talk about all the kind of reasons and how that came to be. So wanted to set that backdrop. About First Team, privately owned, CEOs Cameron Mirage, founded in '76. They're the number one independent real estate company in Southern California, year over year selling more homes than any other broker for the last 10 years. Recently voted by the consumers through the local paper, Orange County Register, as a consumer's choice. So we've got really top brand recognition out in Southern California. Have 40 offices, over roughly 2,300 or so employees and agents, and we're full service, commercial, title, escrow, mortgage, and of course residential sales. First Team's just to give everybody some perspective, First Team is the 8th largest in the country. Gil had mentioned the Realty Alliance before. First Team's been a long-time Realty Alliance member as well, part of the big brokers, big independent brokers. So let's just kind of paint the picture here. So, as I mentioned, I'm new in the organization, and what I've kind of walked into is an IT environment that one was running an old version of Exchange. So we're a Microsoft shop running Microsoft Exchange Server 2003. Those that are familiar with that, the Outlook Web Access or the web client is probably poor is probably the word I would choose in a webinar forum. There's going to be some other words to describe it, but it's really not. Really pales in comparison to the Gmail interface, for instance. Our storage requirements. So basically, there were no email restriction policies at First Team, which I think resonate with a lot of brokers. We typically don't restrict agents in any way, and the result of that was some very large mailboxes and an aggregate of 4 terabytes. And there's also really no enterprise collaboration software in place. We did have an older version of SharePoint, and that was used for some basic internet capabilities, but nothing like what you've seen in the presentation so far. The business case for going Google. The email, we hit a lot on the mobility part of it, and I certainly wouldn't discount that by any means. But at First Team, there was really an email reliability issue. Not the same situation that Gil spoke to, but one where First Team's hosting its own email, and there was a lot of unplanned outages prior to my joining the company, and it just doesn't. You don't have too many of those to have some serious problems with terms of email. And as I mentioned, we were an older version of Exchange, which needed to have been upgraded anyway. So there was cost justification right there, and to me, I was able to see that was just the tip of the iceberg. The being able to leverage Google Apps is really the crown jewel of this. So the email and that that helped get the ROI right up front, but the Google Apps and the collaboration capabilities and what kind of the case that Dave just talked to was really a game changer. And this last point on the slide I want to touch on too is we know that the way Google rolls out things, and they've been criticized for having features disappear and stuff, but the really way to look at that is that they're constantly rolling new features, new innovations, and that's something that you could have the largest IT department in real estate. You're not going to be able to do what Google is doing in this realm. And I was just at the Google Atmosphere event, and just being there and seeing some of the features firsthand of things that are coming out is really compelling. So, next slide. So, one little inaccuracy here. When I put this presentation together, I was kind of guessing of where we'd be in the migration. We're partway through. So, as of this morning, we have 617 users migrated to Google so far. So, but we're rapidly approaching, and so switching email systems and providing collaboration is transformational, but there is that process, there is that migration process, and just as Gil mentioned, using a third party, the ways we used one as well, and we're again in the process of doing it, and they had a dual delivery system that enables migration to happen on a per office basis, and the idea there is that we can. I've been going out and literally myself presenting to offices and getting prepared to hopefully do this on a grassroots basis. So that's how this is going to happen. And the reality is in our business, you're not. We could talk about collaboration, all these great things, but you really have to demonstrate the value for the agents, and that's done through what I see as a grassroots thing. And I'm seeing it happen in the few months that we've been going through this process at First Team. And what makes that a little bit easier is that they already use Gmail in their personal life, and that's much better than certainly the version of OWA that we were on. Next slide, please. So again, I alluded to it earlier that the email is great, and it helped us get over the hump in some of those the reliability issues, and we're able to leverage the Google brand and leverage their SLA of 99.99% uptime. But it's really the Google Apps that's a differentiator, and to be able to leverage all the different parts of the Google App Suite, I see it as collaboration both on several levels, on a company level, on an office level, or team level, and even directly with the client. Dave's example kind of encompassed all those. We've seen some of those very early on. One thing that was really evident to me was a caravan tour. So every real estate, every broker I know of has a weekly meeting, and at the end of that meeting, they do a caravan tour or listing tour or a broker tour. And the traditional process is that there's a sheet that everybody signs up for, and invariably somebody gets missed, or a neighboring office had a listing that somebody wanted to see that got missed, and if you think of that traditional process and then replace it with a Google Doc with a form, essentially the tour writes itself, and it's really powerful to just to kind of witness that, and it saves a lot of time, and it's a lot more efficient. So that's kind of an example on a company or even an office level. Another example that we haven't, again, it's kind of a new thing, and we haven't really we haven't started using it yet, but just I saw a good demonstration on Google Hangouts, and I can definitely see video collaboration between the agent and, say, a husband and wife that, part of the problem is always getting them together. The wife was looking at listings and she wanted to brief her husband on them, and that's always a tough thing to do, to remember which listings they looked at. Now you could do that in a video chat with the husband, wife, and the agent, and you can bring up the listings that you've already looked at, perhaps in a Google site, as was mentioned in an example. So that's just really powerful, and it's really kind of agent-client level collaboration that really hasn't been done before, and kind of a unique differentiator for using Google Apps with this is that there's millions of people out there. The clients they're already familiar with Google. They're already using Google Chat in their own life. So it just makes that step that much smoother and easier for everybody involved.
Thanks so much, Joe. We actually are going to go into our live Q&A session now. We've got a lot of questions, but the first one off the bat is for Gil and Joe. Can Gil and Joe share any specifics on cost savings? Is Joe able to discontinue his Microsoft licensing? So let's start with Joe, and then we'll move to Gil.
Okay. So that's the plan. Since we're still in the process of this, we haven't retired our Exchange server yet, but we certainly plan on doing that. As far as the Outlook licenses, those are what's out there right now is already paid for. We're not using them. We've given employees who basically for the employees, we've basically said, if you, some of them want to hold on to Outlook, so kind of give the Gmail interface a try. Here's some reasons why you're not going to want to go back to it, but if you do, we'll configure it for you. But eventually, on the next, when we replace those PCs and it's time to move off of that, we're not going to buy that Outlook license again. So the answer to your question is not yet, but it's going to happen.
Thank you, Joe. Gil, your thoughts?
Pardon me?
So what are your thoughts on specifics on cost savings? This is one of the questions we got in the Q&A box from...
Okay, right, I see it there. I think we're a little bit different than everybody else. This was not cost savings for us. In fact, it was 3 times more expensive, but it was absolutely well worth it because we have gone from a very basic email to a full-blown program with our calendars, our documents, things like that. And the other thing that came into consideration, as Tom said while we were, discussing all of this, we could wind up with something very similar to what we had before, a basic, very basic. He says, Google, you just can't go wrong with it. And that's been true. It's been fantastic. It's worth it.
We looked at, just to add to that, I mean, we looked at Office 365 and going with a hosted Outlook product, and we also looked at some lower cost alternatives. I used some in the past that were really good, and I looked at those, and you could get something for cheaper, but it only, to what Gil said, it doesn't give you everything else. It's not a game changer like with the apps and the collaboration capabilities. So you can definitely get the ROI out of it.
So Gil and Joe, we've got one more question for you. It just popped up in the Q&A box. Have any of your users required the continuation of Word and Excel on top of Google Docs?
Yes, I do. There are certain things that I do. While I am Vice President of Relocation and Internet Services, a good portion of my responsibility is at the corporate level. And there are certain things that I have been using and will continue using Excel for, but I still use the Google Docs. And the other thing, you can post your Excel as one of your documents, your Word, things like that. So you can go back and forth.
Thanks.
Yeah, I kind of feel somewhat the same way. I think right now Google Docs for corporate users isn't quite an Office replacement yet. I think it's getting there, but there may, for instance, there's been a upgrade to some serious upgrades to the presentation tool, the PowerPoint equivalent. And there's certainly some unique features even in the presentation or the spreadsheet tool that you can do that you can't do in Excel. But as a full-blown replacement for corporate staff, I'm not sure it's there yet. For agents, I think for we're rolling out day one. They've already purchased Office on their own. I'm not sure they're going to replace it, but I think the next time that they make that decision, there's certainly some value there where they wouldn't necessarily have to do it.
So if I can, this is Sean Monahan. I've actually worked with about 80 customers on exactly this question, and what I continually hear from the real estate firms is that they tend to use both, and it's kind of what Gil and Joe just said. There are certain functions when you're talking about collaborating on a document with a customer or a buyer or a contractor or a government employee or a bank, where if you can have a spreadsheet or a presentation where multiple people can be in it at the same time, making updates, having a dialogue via video chat, that tends to be where they tend to use a lot of Google stuff, a lot of the Google applications. Same thing with budgeting, same thing with real-time, any sort of real-time collaboration or productivity tools that you need, they use Google Apps, whereas perhaps there might be a document from a legal agency or a county, or perhaps there's a breakdown in Excel that they need. And so we tend to see folks utilizing both, and then over time, the numbers that we have is a lot of companies, typically when they go Google from Microsoft, will go 80% Google other than Gmail, 100%. It's 80% with the collaborative tools. You go back in a year, it's 90%. You go back in the second year or third year, it's up to 95%. Those are the stats that we've seen.
So we're getting a lot of questions about why we're leveraging WebEx versus potentially Google Plus or YouTube, and those are certainly products that we're very excited about, and you've heard a little bit, tip of the iceberg today about Google Hangouts, and certainly moving forward into the future, that is something that we are really thrilled to provide to customers in an enterprise way, and we'll certainly be rolling those out as another choice. And you'll see coming from our team other things that are in Google Hangouts, Google Plus Hangouts, as well as in YouTube. This is just an additional source of way that we are able to answer questions and offer up information. So we have a couple more questions for both Gil and Joe. So Annie's going to ask some of those questions.
Yeah, so our Q&A box is really blowing up for Gil and Joe, and we're so lucky to have them here so that they can answer these questions in real time.
What are we missing? What are
we have a question for Gil and Joe. With Google Apps, have you been able to go paperless with your transaction files?
No. I don't know where real estate companies would completely go paperless. Real estate agents have a tendency to hang on to everything. There are certain things we have done away with and worked toward the in the documents and all, but there's still all of your forms, things like that. Pardon me?
You don't want to listen anymore? Or you
that's fine.
Sorry, we're getting some feedback on the line because we've unmuted everyone. We're going to go ahead and mute everyone and just unmute Gil. Sorry about that,
Okay.
Gil, to get you interrupted there.
Yes.
Do continue.
Yes. In real estate, as everybody that has anything to do with it understands, there are tons and tons of documents, legal documents, that you can't play around with and things like that you have to have for any kind of a transaction. Those type of things will never be promoted through the Google program. But as far as internally, yes, we have offices that are using the calendar and the docs for floor time schedules where agents can sign up right on the office email on the schedule. They can switch back and forth. We have managers who are using it as training with their invites to certain people to attend specific meetings. And, of course, the agent can accept. The manager knows right away how many are coming. So there are a lot of things there. And we've been with the program since June. So we're still in a learning mode, but we haven't found anything we don't like yet.
Thank you so much, Gil. And I know there's a lot of potential here for going paperless with Google Apps for real estate, certainly in the communication log space, and some of the pieces of transaction can be moved to a paperless environment. But you're right, there are things that, we will maintain on paper moving forward, until there's other breakthroughs from Google. Just to kind of wrap things up, I think another great question that was asked was in relation to partners. And Here at Google, we are thrilled to have partners that help us migrate and deploy customers. So one of the questions was for Gil that you use LTech, and would you use them again? And then we're going to go to Joe to ask the same question. Did you hire a partner, a third-party consultant? Who was it, and would you use them again? So can we unmute Gil and Joe really quick?
Yes.
And we'll have them respond to those questions, and then we'll wrap things up.
Okay, yes, I would definitely use LTech again. In fact, they are our support whenever we need anything. They're right there. One of the things that worked so well with us, when you've got 1,000 people to convert over, it gets scary, and we've had nightmares. So what we did is with LTech's help, they put 10 of us on the program for 2 weeks, and we used it. They forwarded all of our other email in. We were using it. Then I brought in another 130 people, our managers, our secretaries, and I have tech trainers out in all of our offices. So they used it for a couple weeks, and we got any kind of little bug we might have found taken care of. And then whenever we kicked everybody over at a certain date. And the other thing that was so sweet about it is that when there was a problem before, they would come to Mike or myself. Instead, LTech set up a questionnaire that the agents had right in their email. If they had anything, question, problem, whatever, they went right to LTech, and that was all part of our program. They didn't charge us for that. So I'd recommend them, and I would use them in an instant.
Wonderful. Joe, have you also used a partner to deploy Google Apps?
We have. We used SADA systems, and it's Right Tense is using. We're still in the process of that, and I would definitely recommend them as well. We're still in the process. So we've had some. I think probably maybe a more difficult migration than some in terms of sort of really large mailbox sizes. Some ones that were pretty difficult, and they've really have stepped up to the plate, and they basically have been really good in terms of service and trying to meet my expectations. And when I've kind of insisted on some more formal project management methodology, they stepped right up to it, and they're a good partner, and I'd be willing to talk with anybody individually more about that.
Thanks so much, Joe. So for everyone who is on the line who didn't catch the names, the two partners were LTech and SADA Systems. So thanks everyone for your participation in this webinar. We know that there are some questions that are remaining that haven't been answered, and we'll be answering them still after the webinar concludes. I want to thank especially Gil and Joe for their awesome participation, their great presentation, and fielding of all of these questions live, off the cuff. We'll be sending out a follow-up email after this session with a link to a recording of this webinar, as well as a feedback survey, and we'll also include a link to the videos that I know some of you had issues viewing. When you have a few moments, we'd love to hear your thoughts about the content, flow, pacing of this webinar, and any suggestions you have for future ones. Also, as a treat, we've included a link to a Locust site in your WebEx chat. If you go to it right now, you'll see it, and you can see what Google Apps would look like for your real estate company. We hope you enjoy the Locust site, and if you have any feedback, any questions, please let us know. Thank you.